Hello, and thank you for joining us for the Voice of the People podcast here on kxnet.com. I'm Nicholas Kwalik, your host. And today we're focusing on local elections, specifically the election for the mayor of Mandan. Joining me to talk about that is the sole registered candidate, James Froelich. Mr. Froelich, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Nicholas. Appreciate it.
So for those of our viewers who may not be familiar with who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would.
59 years old, born and raised in Mandan. Attended university at North Dakota State. Came back, raised a family, and worked for our family business, Missouri Valley Petroleum, which we sold in 2018. So I've been retired since then, and I thought this was a good opportunity to give back to the city of Mandan.
So in all your years, never thought about leaving the city of Mandan?
There were opportunities, yes,
Okay.
but I like it in Mandan.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, you lived in Mandan, as you said, lifelong Mandan resident. Current Mayor Tim Helbling has decided not to run for re-election. Your thoughts on that?
Well, Tim deserves a big pat on the back. He's got 30 years in city government between the park board and being the mayor, and he's done a wonderful job. Ironically, Tim just grew up about 6 houses from me up the hill in our old neighborhood. So I've known Tim since grade school. So,
Mm-hmm. And what is it about Mandan that's kept you here for so long?
I think there's a good spirit in Mandan. Kind of going against the grain a little, but we persevere. You know, we've always been across the river. Maybe a little bit of an underdog, and I like that. And you know, the last couple decades, we've really moved forward with Mandan. We're growing. We're growing in the right way. When you look at our schools and our recreational facilities, we're first rate. And so we're doing well in Mandan right now.
Mm-hmm. So why now did you decide to run?
Well, like I said, we sold our business, and I was 55 at the time, I suppose, and maybe even younger. And it was just, I still, you know, you look around and you say, well, I wasn't ready to do that. My brother and sister are older. They were ready to do it. I wasn't. Like I said, I've done some consulting, but really using the skill set that I learned at Missouri Valley Petroleum, I thought it would lend itself well to being the mayor of Mandan.
Mm-hmm. And now here you are, the sole registered candidate. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I just hope Donald Duck doesn't show up that day. And yeah, so that was an interesting story that day, and nobody was on the ballot. And I thought a city of 25,000 people should have a mayor on the ballot, or a candidate for mayor on the ballot. And I woke up that Monday morning. The deadline was at 4 the Monday afternoon, and I needed 125 signatures. And God bless the people that we put out the bat light when I decided. People responded, and we ended up with 165 signatures. So here we are, ready or not, here we are.
Mm-hmm. And so with the vote coming up, what are your thoughts about, you know, unless something strange happens, I suppose, it looks like you're going to be the guy. So what's going through your head right now ahead of this vote?
Well, first off, we got to get my mother out to vote, so I have at least one vote. What's going through my head? I got some good advice from a former commissioner to listen a lot and yes, and speak less. There is a learning curve, obviously, on the property tax issue. There's a learning curve. It's all new, which is great. You don't want to be bored with it or say you know everything,
Mm-hmm.
because then you're not listening. But I'm excited. I'm excited to learn, get a deeper knowledge of how Mandan works. Excited to form consensus with the commissioners and work well with our our city administrator, Jim Newbauer, and our other department heads, which are very good, very capable people in fire, public works, police.
You know, it's you have a couple, I guess, a couple of months now to sort of prepare yourself to think about what your strategy, what your focus is going to be. So can you tell us a little bit about what you think you're going to start tackling day number one?
Well, I think we're going to be in the middle of the budget process at that point, but what concerns me, and they say, you know, people want their garbage picked up, they want to turn the faucet on and there's water, and they want the water to go away when they flush the toilet, and they want the streets clean. And really, that's about it, right? But I'm concerned about our staffing at our fire departments and police departments. Are we where we should be? And I know there's a third fire station on the horizon for Mandan. Mandan's a very long city when you look at it on a map, so we have to ensure that we're still our response times to the areas, particularly up Red Trail, past Baymont, that we're in those national standards in response times, and also looking at, are we staffed fully at each station, currently at Lakewood and the main fire station on Collins and First. So those are areas that I'm looking at, just to ensure that the citizens of Mandan, when they hit 911, they want the responses, and they want the full force of the department there. So
Now, I can tell you that I've been here, it's hard to believe, 5 years now. And I remember vividly when I first moved to the area, there was a lot of construction happening around that area in Mandan, getting on and off the highway, and specifically the Sunset development. There's been significant growth there. And of course, one of the big topics that maybe people not from Mandan may not know about, but as far as getting around the area, there's a couple different proposed plans. And one of those plans around that Sunset area is a couple roundabouts. You've obviously been living there, you know how to get in and around the city probably better than anybody. So what are your thoughts about that development and all of the businesses that have come in around that area?
well, it's good, you know, to develop these corridors. So you're looking at the Sunset Drive north of the interstate corridor, business corridor, and hopefully we can fill that in. Now, you said roundabouts. I was initially skeptical about the roundabout on North Collins, particularly that we had transport trucks coming from the other side of the roundabout down to the refinery. It seems to have worked great. The traffic flows nicely. I don't know what impact the new school is going to have on that roundabout, but they're easy to navigate. And I've been through roundabouts in Western North Dakota. They work great. Sunset's going to be extended north to connect with 1806, and there's also housing development going north of the middle school. So it's good growth, and it's adjacent to the city. So we're not running services basically over unproductive land. If you know what I mean. It's easy to rooftops and property tax, unfortunately. But
well, you know, just looking it up here, Mandan, according to the League of Cities, has the fifth lowest property taxes among the state's 13 largest cities. That's of 2022. Mandan is at 1.29, Bismarck 1.14. Minot's got the highest at 1.65, with Watford City at 0.8. Are you happy with that number?
Yes, but I don't have any desire to increase that. We have to be very sensitive right now with the way the economy is going. And I would say I'm a fiscal conservative, so I'm not looking to raise anybody's taxes or propose that. But in order to ensure services, there might be a slight modification, but I have no desire to do that at all.
you mentioned growth, and of course, we're always talking about here Bismarck, Mandan, Bisman, the two and two are simultaneous. Of course, growth comes with people moving here to North Dakota looking for economic opportunity. And it's no secret, a lot of people move up here with their families. So, running a business, now retired, living in Mandan, what are some of the economic opportunities that you would love to see that haven't been able to get done since you've been living in Mandan that you would maybe like to propose or look at to attract more people, not just to Bismarck, but also Mandan as well?
Well, the strip, Memorial Highway, which is going to, I think, start construction in earnest next year, uh, is very valuable to the city, and I think the aesthetics and the utilities, the infrastructure of the road are gonna lend itself to more traffic on the road, and that means more sales and tax dollars. The late Senator Dwight Cook and I, back in 1994, went up to the end of Low Strader Road, which is way west Mandan, and it kind of fish hooks. And we got out of the car and he said, can you tell me how many high schools are still on the edge of town and after you build it? And it struck me. I said, well, I guess ours is, right? Because we haven't been able to move west. And I think a great opportunity would be to be able to push Boundary Road west into those rugged hills. And the city can develop all the way to Highway 25. And that would be a great opportunity for Mandan if we could finally do that after 60 years.
Mhm. Well, speaking of schools, of course, the old Mandan High School still hanging around. Any thoughts on what to do with that?
We'll tear it down.
Okay,
That,
then what?
well, that's what was proposed.
Sure.
And I sat on a committee all last summer,
Okay.
getting citizens' input and everything.
Mhm.
And as far as renovating the building, it's just not there. There's too much to do. The new high school, the auditorium is much bigger than the current
Sure.
one. People have wanted to keep that, but the proposal that came out of there was probably a combination between additional park, probably extending the 80 acres that are northwest of the high school, which is owned by the Parks and Recs in Mandan. And I've seen retail proposals, excuse me, townhouses, all sorts of things, but it all depends on, whether a developer can make it work.
Right. Well, I know we just mentioned it a couple days ago, talking about the old, can't remember the name of it now, but on Second and Thayer here, the Budget Inn, that's what it is here in
Yeah.
Bismarck. And the developer said, just the way things are with the economy right now, they're going to hold off. So you mentioned the economy just a moment ago. I mean, how much of an impact do you think? We saw a couple businesses close last summer. So how much of that are you weighing as far as you move into this, potentially into this new position?
Well, it's a local position, but to say that you're not watching the national and international would be naive. It weighs a lot. You asked about property taxes earlier. You can't raise taxes when people are hurting. And in 2008, 9, I think we were pretty well insulated from the rest of the I think the carnage that was happening in other parts of the country. The oil patch was just gearing up, and North Dakota never really felt that. So I'm very worried when you're $35 trillion in debt and the music stops. What's that going to look like? Because it can't be sustained forever. And I know people have talked, well, we were at $10 trillion in debt. We were $20 trillion in debt. And so nothing's really going to happen. And you wake up every morning, you open your eyes, and you're an optimist. But to not be aware of this amount of debt and the slowing of certain sectors. Um, like I said, you'd be naive not to pay attention to that, because whatever happens on the national level, it is going to trickle down to the state, and it's going to trickle down to the local. And
Mhm. Well, and I'm, yeah, I would imagine you've had your finger on the pulse for years, as you said, former business owner, Missouri Valley Petroleum. So you've seen the impact the economy has had on families near and far. I want to go back to the family thing for just a second, because, one of the struggles that I've seen covering the news around here for a while is just, there are some things for families to do. We really don't have major attraction. Back home there's Cedar Point. There's other attractions across the country. Nothing like a Disney World, for example. So, do you feel like there's something that you would want to maybe look into in Mandan to draw more families in, to say, hey, come to Mandan because of?
well, we have Fort Lincoln.
Sure.
Those are the standard answers.
Mhm.
But as far as something, we used to have a large gorilla in Mandan. That was supposed to be an attraction, but
Do you think there's a need for something like that, or do you think people are just satisfied with the way things are right now, as far as more family outing and gathering areas and so on?
um, that's a good question. I've never thought of that. And quite frankly, I don't know really what to do. The Mandan Progress Organization does a very good job. And it used to be kind of a seasonal deal,
Mhm.
with Touch a Truck, the parade, and some other activities. They've broadened that to the Christmas lights in the park. And so we've drawn people in for those events. Um, and in credit to the MPO that they've expanded it into seasons that aren't necessarily desirable to go walking around in a park. But no, I haven't really given it that much thought. I think for families just to develop more of the recreation, but again, that's not part of the mayor's job.
Sure.
That's the Parks and Rec. So
Mhm, mhm. But obviously, being a strong voice, you could certainly lend that too, if in fact you thought there was something that you think could be developed, right?
sure,
Sure.
sure. And I've talked to people about ideas, and then it comes down to money, and lots of money. So
Right, right. So, we're moving
and
forward.
I'll go back to what to do with the Mandan school.
Yeah.
Some of the proposals were a nice ice skating park,
Mhm.
a water park, where kids, that's it's not a pool per se, but it's the fountains and everything. Um, those were nice suggestions. And again, you take in the seasonality of things with, you're working with the ice skating rink in the winter.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah, but yeah, and like I said, you mentioned the ice skating thing, but as you know, from this year to last year, completely different scenarios when it comes for. So yeah,
right.
I'm sure I can certainly appreciate how difficult it is to consider all those factors. Uh, Having run a business, I want to go back to you personally, and like I said, being the sole registered candidate. What kind of leadership style could people living in Manning expect of you? Will you have an open door? How can people approach you?
Um, I think I'm very approachable. I hope I am. Um, I like to listen to everybody's opinion. I like to get everybody engaged. Um, if you're on the commission, I want to hear your 2 cents. I want to hear what the citizens have to say. Um, it you know, you got to listen to everybody. You're not going to make everybody happy. We all know that, but all in all, you make a good decision. You can defend the decision, and you got input. Um, and I just want to continue to be positive for the citizens of Mandan, and just sell Mandan for the direction we're going. Um, and that it's a good place to live and do business.
Mhm. How much of a partnership are you looking at as far as continuing? I mean, I know, like I said, I mentioned earlier, they're sort of going hand in hand, but being separate cities as well. How much do you sort of anticipate on working with and trying to kind of figure things out with the city of Mandan or city of Bismarck, I
City
should
of
say?
Bismarck,
Yeah,
Well, it's critical. I mean, you can't ignore your next door neighbor. Um, so
unless they get you angry, right?
yeah, well, there's no invasion plans or
Yeah.
anything.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, no, you gotta work with your neighbors. Cause all our roads impact each other.
Right.
And so. uh, Yeah, I look forward to working with, the people in Bismarck. And, our business was over in Bismarck for 30 years, and we still have, properties in Bismarck and everything, so. Uh, we have to work with, from a family business point of view, we have to work and have worked with Bismarck over the years.
Okay. Well, unless there's anything else, I just let you kind of wrap things up on why people should give you a chance and put their check mark next to your name.
Well, outside of that, I'm the only candidate.
All right. All right.
Yeah. Uh, I'm just gonna be a positive voice for Mandan. Um, like I said before, we have very good, city leadership and our city administrator, our financial and our department heads, and um, I have no desire to micromanage or change anything with that, other than to just help facilitate them doing their job and be available to the citizens of Mandan.
Okay. Well, Mr. Frank, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk with us and kind of give people a little insight about who you are and what you represent and why you think you're the best candidate. So be sure to tune in next week for more on the questions and answers affecting you. Because remember, it's your voice that matters, the voice of the people.